Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to F1 Manager 22. This is episode number 2.
The time has come to fight it out. It's race day.
Williams had a good performance in qualifying. Now they'll be eager to demonstrate that they can have an even better race. Aston Martin were on target for qualifying. Now it's up to them to defy expectations for the race itself. The weather is beautifully clear tonight, which is one less problem for the teams to face. Of course, that doesn't take anything away from the unpredictability of this race.
And there's going to be a lot for the teams to handle. So will the drivers and their cars be able to cope with the pressure? Let's find out right here at the Bahrain Grand Prix.
We are ready for our first race of the calendar. We're in Bahrain, race number 1 of the season. It is race day. We are ready to get racing. I'm so excited for this one. But we're starting from the back. It's 18th and 20th on the grid today. It's going to be tough, but we'll see if we can pull off a 15th. 15th is the target. If we can, to exceed 14th and 15th would be, I think, the best outcome we can hope for. Split strategy for the race, and we're looking at a two-stopper no matter which strategy you pick. I also actually customized the strategy we're going for Latifi's car. We're going to do hard, medium, medium with a bit more push. He doesn't seem to have a whole lot of life in his tires, but we're going to pit earlier in the life as he doesn't kind of hold up as well. If we have, say, an early safety car, we can extend the stint and maybe make a one-stop or require a safety car for that. Or push from hard, medium into a soft for the final stint would be ideal if we're able to delay if there's a safety car or two, and depending on timing, could change the tactics entirely. Now for Albon, we're going the more bold strategy, and this is going to be a lot harder because you're going to really have to conserve the tires to make them last, but ultimately we're on a much faster set of compounds. We're going to go soft, medium, soft in this race for Albon, and you can really see the fall off in those final laps. So we're going to have to be really careful on those final runs to make it just work for Albon. Virtual safety car or safety car would be a great help for Albon to make this strategy last. Otherwise, he's going to be right on the limits.
It looks like clear skies tonight with the drivers now in their grid positions. Here we have Alexander Albon. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. Next up for the team, it's Latifi. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. And we're just moments away now. And this is it, the Bahrain Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Straight into the race, no grid positions or anything. Good thing I at least made one adjustment for Albon about trying to push. Latifi's, I'm fine if Latifi's running 20th. We're on a totally different strategy than everybody else, and he is just kind of under that we're going to conserve mode. But Albon, 18th, just ahead of Stroll. The funny thing was we qualified 18th, but something to me made it look like we were actually 19th on the grid, which was a weird one. I'm going to have to definitely familiarize myself with the mechanics on this one as we kind of get through this initial lap. Albon, we're not going to go crazy, but I do want to push a little bit here, at least on the first lap, and see if we can't gain a little something, though we are already over a second behind Mick Schumacher. So back off to standard so that we don't go too deep early on. Alright, so fuel rate, over the course of the race, we are a little bit underweight, so we are going to need either that safety car, virtual safety car, or we're going to have to lift and coast at some point to get enough fuel to make it to the end. And then, of course, the ERS system is going to be one of those big things that we manage throughout here. Alright, so as we begin lap number 3, DRS is enabled. So Albon, one of his big keys is going to be staying within 1 second of Mick Schumacher, which we did get back within 1 second after we had initially got a little bit behind. So that 8/10, that'll allow us to help close in and keep pace with those guys ahead of us. Meanwhile, Latifi, though, a little too far off the back, a little too much in the wrong place, wrong time, wrong strategy. He's going to have to just kind of manage things and get on with it. And so that'll allow us to kind of key in on Albon for a while. With a deployment strategy, Albon has actually already closed the gap up quite a bit as Mick Schumacher makes a move past Vettel, and Albon's going to get past as well. I think we need to be changing our view to here. We should get an idea of what just happened here momentarily. As we continue to deploy, he's making up some ground.
Just gained by Williams. Here's the
Let's
replay.
see. Love that you get that option to go back and see the replay. So yeah, we actually followed Schumacher through, just getting ahead, not even completing it, no, through the later part, post apex, we were able to finish the move there. Alright, so that's got us into 17th live action, and we are actually still right on the heels of the Haas right now.
If you've got
Great chance to maybe make a move right now. Up beside him, into 16th. 2.5 seconds behind Sonoda, though, so we're going to have some ground to cover to get there. But let's go ahead and back off once again. We'll go neutral to potentially defend. We'll have to keep an eye out.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
All right, in terms of tire wear, perfect on our strategy at the moment. Latifi doing good as well. I think we can afford to go aggressive for a little bit, though.
Focus and push. Up.
Alright, so far we are holding off the Haas, but looking like we may have to deploy to defend. No, he's back ahead of us. If we can catch up in front, I think we'll be in good shape, but being behind at the moment is not going particularly well for us. So, you know what, let's just stay on hold position for now. It's okay that he got us back ahead, but we'll keep 17th and ride Schumacher's coattails for a little while. Get that free DRS. Bottas running wide on 14. He's all the way up in 7th. Here on lap number 5, Leclerc is we still have quite a few laps to go before it's going to be an issue. But when it does come around time for pit stops, we're going to have to keep an eye on what those margins are. Albon already making up some ground, pulling ahead of Latifi a bit. Latifi, though, on that totally different strategy. And it's just going to be a matter of him kind of run a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, not get too far behind. Albon making a move without even pushing. Might have the pass made here. But again, I'm not too concerned if he doesn't get around Schumacher right now. The idea is that Schumacher's helping us get around. In fact, you can already see fuel-wise for plus 1.1 laps, where Latifi's still at minus a lap. So we are getting a lot of drag. We're getting a lot of pull from following Mick Schumacher, and it's really making things good for later. And meanwhile, we're pulling away a little bit from behind. So I'm happy with where we're at. You know, if you get Mick Schumacher, we got to keep pushing to try to get within range of Ricciardo. Otherwise, Schumacher has enough pace to just come right back at us. Front 4 have definitely pulled away. And then Gasly, Russell, Bottas, and Hamilton. Ocon and Alonso, along with Norris, are kind of your next group. Magnussen, Zhou are there. There or thereabouts, just a little bit behind. And then Ricciardo and Sonoda. We're the next train. You can see, you know, here on the front stretch where it's kind of spread out. Mini map behind me, can't see it as well, at least not the front stretch. Post turn 9, one of the craziest turns on the calendar. So hard in the F1 game to master, as Albon once again gets right up beside Mick Schumacher without doing any deployment. You know, if we're lucky, he's pushing hard to keep us behind. That would be the ideal scenario, because we're not pushing hard, which would set us up nicely for things later. It is nice that in 2022 you can follow the new era of car. You can follow so much better than before. In terms of the strategy, this is where we stand so far. It looks like Latifi right on track, maybe even a little bit below where he could be, and Albon's looking quite good right now, as he has done really well managing the tire wear and the fuel burn as well. So really happy about that one. If we are in good shape as we approach the end of that window, we might try to then make that push to get beyond Mick Schumacher and push hard for a handful of laps and maybe open a little gap on him before we get to that first pit window. But as Albon's strategy in general is going to really push tires to the limit, right now I'm more than happy to be where we're at, out on track. We're one DNF away from 16th and one push for a moment to get ahead of Mick Schumacher to then be 15th equivalent-wise. So, you know, so far so good. Although Vettel and Stroll not far behind. Right, there they are, 2 seconds back. All right, for a couple laps we are going to keep things the same and just cruise along here. Pushing a little harder with Latifi at the moment, as he is 10 seconds back, and we don't want to keep him too far back. And his tire wear was definitely good. Meanwhile, Albon, you know, we harvested a little more, so we got a little more in the tank now in the ERS for later. But it did allow that gap to open. But you can see now we have closed it back up, and we nearly make the pass yet again. I think now that we've closed in, we can afford to go back into harvest mode, harvest a little more. We want to get that ERS totally full for when we want to make that big push soon, because now we're approaching lap 10, and I think our window is coming up here relatively soon. We're looking at a lap 18 window. Yeah, so ideally we want to pit on lap 18 or even 19 if we can manage to conserve that little bit more for later. I don't think Schumacher is going to be too hard to pass out on track. It's the pulling away that's a little trickier, but if you're pushing hard for a few laps, that's a different matter. Oh, that's Stroll. That's Stroll, and he loses a couple seconds there.
Okay, back off.
Alright, so Albon now has that ERS where we want it. I think we can think about making that push. We have the spare fuel, we have the ERS, and the tire wear has been looking good. To make that move, though, you no longer get that benefit of DRS. So it's a move that I kind of want to make as we get maybe 4 laps away from pitting. And that 4 laps, that means if we're going to pit on, where was it, 18? Yes, 18. So we want to start lap 14. So it's lap 12 now. Leclerc and Sainz swapping positions in the lead. Verstappen and Perez just a couple seconds behind in the Red Bulls. And we are now a pit stop behind those leaders. So we are getting, those 4 anyway, are getting beyond us. And again, our race is never, this season, going to be with the front runners. Our race this year is very much going to be with the back of the field and try to get those 15th and aboves for a while anyway. Schumacher and Albon still neck and neck when it comes to the tire wear. Strategy, though, could be totally different. Latifi, meanwhile, hanging on for a while longer. Tires are starting to overheat for Albon just a little bit, being behind Mick Schumacher They are generating some extra heat, so I think we are going to have to make a move here soon. And as we are on lap 13, I was thinking one more lap to make that happen, but he's going to make the pass. So we're going to go aggressive, and we are going to deploy.
Happy to increase pace.
Copy.
We want to pull away, and we have that extra
Fuel
fuel too.
commands allow drivers to manage their car's fuel.
Yep, copy.
As Schumacher already trying to answer back in the next
Saving,
sector,
fuel
but I think
saving.
we want to keep going.
Yes.
Right on his heels. Now's a good time with the DRS. I think we should be able to get by him fairly easily. The trick this time is going to be to stay ahead and drive away a little bit.
Currently 15.15.
Oh, Hamilton just pit. Hamilton comes out in 18th. First one on track to take a pit.
And a new position.
And
Just gained
told you the
by
front four
Williams.
had pulled away, but the rest had not. Now our trick here is going to be trying to stay ahead of Schumacher. And so far we've managed to do so, but the big test is going to be here on the main straight, where he is 0.6 of a second behind. Can we hold him off as we continue to deploy? Breaking that DRS train is going to be an important step here. And we do hold him off. We've got to continue pushing now for the remainder of this lap. Fuel already starting to be minor concern for Albon, but very minor as we continue to push on. I'd like to get to the pit stop in front of Schumacher and maybe have a gap open up, but pulling away is a very different matter. We're not going to hold him off. He's going to get back ahead of us, it looks. He's going to get the DRS here. So, plan failed, short term. He's got a little more pace than we have. Staying with him is one thing. Staying ahead of him is another matter. Alright, we're in the pit window. Not the optimal part of it, though. This is not where we want to pit. Yeah, this is the earliest. For now, we have the tire wear. For now, we're ahead of Schumacher. So, I'd very much like to stay where we're at. As Schumacher starts to go back ahead. So, we're going to back off to go standard.
You can afford
And
to
now
drop
we
out.
want to extend
Okay,
the
copy.
stint that little bit longer.
Currently 15.
The thought of an undercut
Is that a new
Might have
race
worked
position for Haas?
from there, but from this scenario. Alonso and Hamilton behind us, but of course that's happened through pit stops. It's Vettel, who we now actually have opened quite a bit of a gap on, and Stroll, who lost ground where he went off track there momentarily, and then Latifi. Latifi's still well behind. We could see Schumacher here at any point peel off, and it looks like he is. He's going to push now. Okay, that means we want to go aggressive.
Push hard. Happy to push hard. Copy.
Schumacher and Vettel both pitting. We'll see where we come out after the pits, but we are definitely extending. So we are going with a different strategy to these guys. They've gone with the hard compound. So they've gone with the hard compound where we are going to extend and go with the medium. That medium is going to be a lot faster than that hard. But they're on fresh tires right now, and I'm continuing on for at least a couple more laps without. So this is going to get interesting. Vettel, Schumacher, both on hard. Those are direct competitors. Gasly was definitely up the order. Hamilton, Russell, Alonso were definitely up the order. Alonso doing similar strategy to us on the medium. Stroll has not pit yet. Stroll, Latifi, and myself are the back three that have not pit. Sonoda ahead of us, and Sainz is the only one that has pit ahead of us. But here we go, another lap. More drivers coming in. And I've got that DRS train behind me. The good news, actually, is if the Mercedes can get by me here, I can then use that DRS over the next lap or two. These guys are not who I'm racing with, but if they get out in front, I'll get that DRS, and that'll help pull us along just a little bit. Momentarily, we were all the way up to P9, but again, that's not really a thing.
Mercedes moved
Not
up
a big
place.
deal. It's Hamilton who's gone by. Hamilton now ahead of Russell, where he was a couple positions behind not long ago. And you can see where Mercedes was significantly faster. Now that I have the DRS, Russell couldn't even get by there where he should have easily. He had DRS as well, but my DRS was enough to help kind of keep me in position. Looks like we have one more lap to run before we perfectly enter the pit window on where we want to be. But I might extend by one further lap, especially being in this train with these guys. If they drop me, that's a different matter. But so far, so good. Did I get DRS this time? Just barely. I'd like to do one more lap. One more lap. Our tire wear has been good. Yes, it's going to start to fall off, but I've got this nice train of cars on fresh tires, and I'm getting that DRS. I'd like to use that DRS to help ourselves later in the race. So we're going to get one more lap out of these guys, and then we will pit. Sorry, Russell. Alonso benefits from my slower pace, and I am losing that ground now, aren't I? But these guys are going to pass me on this lap. Alright, so one extra lap on this strategy, and we'll see how that benefits us. We're clearly starting to fall off pace a bit. Alonso and Russell have both gone by, but we are in full attack and heavy deploy mode on the fuel. This could help us out a little bit later. Every lap matters. Yeah, Albon's starting to fall off pace pretty quick. Russell, Alonso pulled away. No DRS this time. We miss it by 1/10 of a second. Alright, I'm excited for this. It's our very first pit stop. We'll see how the pit crew does. I would imagine we're not looking for an amazing time or anything based on the Williams setup that we have here. It should be an okay time though. I mean, we shouldn't lose a bunch of time to everybody else. And we are alone in the pits this time. .7. Hey, not bad, not bad. 2.7 on that pit stop. And we are back out on track. Still ahead of Latifi at the moment, as Mick Schumacher does go on by. So Schumacher has gone on by. We do not want to be in full attack, but we want to be aggressive a little bit as we heat these tires up. But we are right behind Mick Schumacher, so that's good. We're right back where we needed to be with now fresher tires. And that's good. So we extended our stint by 4 laps maybe compared to Schumacher. That's going to change things, and I believe he's going to be on the hard compound. We want to get in DRS range here, and we have it. We have it. That's going to allow us to now go standard.
You can afford to
We
drop
want to
back.
continue to push though to close that gap a little bit. 0.4 of a second. He is. So here's the big advantage that we have now. Albon, who's amazingly still ahead of Latifi. That's how much time he gained over Latifi over that stretch. Albon on the mediums, and they are fresher. Schumacher on the hards. There's not going to be much he can do to hold us back. Sonoda, Ricardo, Magnussen, Show, they're all on hard compound. So we are on a very different strategy. We are going to need to push past these guys. And what I've already seen, this is not a one-stop race. These guys are not going to the end of the race on these hards. They are going to have to pit again. What we did was we lost that few seconds. We lost that few seconds on that last lap and a half. And that cost us a little bit of time. But the trade-off is we are now on a better compound through the rest of this stint. And these guys might be finishing the race either on mediums or maybe on softs, but there's a decent chance that quite a few of them are going to finish on the mediums, where we're going to finish on the softs. We will be faster later in the race. The first stint was the hardest, and yet first stint went down really well. Ooh, 10 seconds. That's a hefty gap that we're gonna have to get into that space and kind of push on. But our thing is we've got to get past Schumacher and then get out of DRS range. We don't want to bring him along. As we get side by side, we get ahead for a moment, but we have to bail out as we have the outside on turn 1 there. You see how easy it's going to be. We are in a conserve mode right now, and yet we still nearly passed Schumacher. So pulling away shouldn't be as hard this time as we are on fresh mediums compared to his older hards. But we might change strategies with Latifi. As, you know, the tire wear has been fairly good, and he's hanging in there. We might extend a little bit further, hoping for something. Latifi's a perfect example of why the one stop will not work. We've run 23 laps. It's time for him to pit. We still have 34 laps to go. 33 laps to go now. And he's already used the hard compound, so mediums aren't going to make it. That's why you're guaranteed a 2-stopper on this one. Albin, we've almost got that ERS full, so we are going to make our move fairly soon. Latifi, I think I'm going to extend by about 2 laps. See what happens. See if we can get a virtual or full safety car, which the field's all spread out right now. It's a lot more rare at this stage. Meanwhile, front 4, it's Sainz ahead of Verstappen now, and then Leclerc and Perez is 10 seconds back. But then, that next group, and it's a fairly sizable group, you have Hamilton ahead of Russell, Alonso, close behind Bottas, Ocon, Guan Yu Zhou, a little bit further back, Gasly, Norris, and then it's the gap to Magnussen and Tsunoda and Raikkonen, and then to us, to Schumacher and Albin and the back end. Okay, ERS is now fully charged. Fully charged. So where are we? I think we want to make the move on the front stretch. So we're going to wait till we get to the front stretch. Meanwhile, the tire wear is just fine for Latifi. He can extend. See if he can be the one who makes a one-stopper work. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, he's at 25 laps right now. But we already saw the softs could go 20. If the softs can go 20, why not stretch the hards to... That's the thing. How far can you stretch? 30? 32? Just don't think it's going to happen. There you go. We got the inside. This should be good for a pass. And it is. Okay. Latifi ahead. We're going to keep... Albin ahead. We're going to keep pushing on a little bit longer here, though. As we've got to pull away now. Now, he's on the hards. We're on the mediums. You know, on that part, it's absolutely possible. Is that dreaded turn 9. What kind of gap are we going to open here? Half a second ahead. He's got the outside. We've got the inside. We're still side by side. Sparks fly. Uh-oh. Oh, that's our second failed attempt on Mick Schumacher. DRS detection zone was still just inside a second. That one got away from us a bit. We're going to have to close back up on him. Just get ready. Try another overtake in a little bit. Problem is, meanwhile, everybody ahead of us is getting away. But back to the original thing of, if you get ahead of Mick Schumacher, that's 16th. All we need is a single car up the grid to DNF, and we are going to be in great shape to get that top 15. But getting ahead of and pulling away from Mick Schumacher, different matters. Getting ahead doesn't seem hard. Getting ahead and then staying away, pulling away, getting out of that DRS detection zone is the tricky thing. As Latifi, I think we need to make that pit stop happen here. Yeah, lap 27. Glad that we're getting this Mick Schumacher tow. It's definitely helping. It's getting us well away from Vettel, Stroll, and Latifi for that matter, but DRS fully charged. Okay, we're ready to have another go at this. Woo! Big lockup! Big lockup. We got him. We got him. That was Schumacher with a big lockup. Yellow flag.
Was that a lockup on the track?
Schumacher locks up and goes wide on the exit of turn 10.
Okay, we can easily overtake.
Alright, with the deploy energy, we are keeping Mick Schumacher pretty much where we had him. He's about 2/10 further back, one-tenth further back than he was. So we opened that gap ever so slightly. Our problem, though, is it's 12 seconds to the battling Ricciardo and Tsunoda. Catching them is a very different matter, but on the medium compound, on our own for a little while, I want to actually go ahead and go aggressive for a little bit and see if we can't,
We're happy to push on with the tyres.
give ourselves a little something more. I think we can maybe make the one-stopper work. I really do think we can make that one-stopper work. Well, we're at 35%. 30% is where we seem to start to fall off the cliff. That's that line that we have on the graph. I think it begins at 30%. So we're at 34 now. And I think that can get us at least one more lap here. Schumacher, yeah, we've barely pulled away, but without the DRS. And Stroll still has to stop one more time, and for us, that'll be the last stop for Latifi. I think he's got a great chance of beating Stroll today. I don't know about anybody else. Maybe Vettel. Albon now 4 seconds ahead of Schumacher, finally. Slowly opened that gap. Just a few tenths we've been able to pull away. But we are using a little extra deployment and pushing a little bit harder with those tires. Let's go standard before we hear about overheating. All right, Latifi, lap 32 and 30%. It's time. 26 laps will not be easy. They will not be easy, but we did 20 with the softs. And let's see, what was our plan? We were planned for 18. We actually pit at 20, so we extended by 2. 18, and we were planning on 41. So we were already looking at 23 for Albon. It's a little bit of a stretch, but we have to do 25. It's only 2 more. Only 2 more laps than what was planned for Albon. I think we can make it. I mean, we just extended this stint for Latifi by a lot. I mean, that pit window was 6, 7, 8 laps ago. Yeah, I think we're looking good. We'll get with Latifi as he heads to the pits. Latifi will definitely get faster on this stop, or this stint, that is. 2.762. It's a good stop. It's a good stop. And that should take us to the end. Now a lapped car. The front 3 are gone. Stroll just got lapped. Did we get lapped on the previous lap and I didn't notice? Did we get the blue flag? Oof, that would hurt if we did. Meanwhile, our gap to Schumacher, 3.7 right
Yes.
now. And we've got a car ahead of us. No, that's Latifi. Back with Albon. That's where the race is really at for us. And I think we are going to sit tight for a little while. 20 laps to go. I do believe we're going to start to see the second round of pit stops here fairly soon, especially when you consider Latifi is trying to go the distance on those mediums. You're going to see some of those guys that are going to run mediums to the finish hitting in the next lap or 2, really. Mick Schumacher, 2.5 back. I think I might have to go back into deploy. Or set it to defend.
Seems to have
No,
been
we
a
just need to
lock-up.
deploy for a little bit. Latifi with the lockup, costing him time, costing him in his battle
Copy.
with Stroll.
Yeah. Deploy. Yep, copy.
All right, second round of pits are now underway. These guys are entering that window. 18 laps to go. We are now ahead of Ricardo. Magnussen pits. We come out just behind him. Biggest thing about that first stint was we were behind Mick Schumacher. It really improved our pace. Alonso's hanging on at 28%. Verstappen pit. He's out on he's on softs and already down to 87%. Verstappen's going to end up having to pit again. He's not going to make it on those. But Ricardo came out on the mediums. Latifi already down to 78%, but we'll do what we can to hang on. Try to make the one-stop work, but when you're that slow, you're in the slowest car and you're the slowest driver, you gotta do what you can to finish above last. And in this case, that's stretched to the point of making the one-stop work. Mick Schumacher has caught up. Yes, he has. He pushed, and he pushed hard, and he's got us. He's got us in his sights. His pace is definitely better than Albon's right now.
We could do with a bit more
But
pace now if you've got it.
hopefully he's about to pit in the next handful of laps. And I'd love it if he goes with another set of mediums. And we're able to go with the softs on the aggressive strategy later. And I think we might just about be okay. We have nothing to deploy now to defend. We were trying to keep him away. The moment he got within a second, the DRS allowed him to close right up on us. Other cars run wide. Sector 2. No crashes, no DNFs today, and that's hard for us.
There?
Vettel runs wide, and here comes Mick Schumacher. He goes outside, he goes inside, he cannot get past us though. Not yet. Not yet, but it feels like it's coming. Love to see him peel off and go into the pits though. A battle with Mick Schumacher could come down to literally the final lap. Ricardo is behind us. Is that because he spun or is he already pit? He is a lap down, by the way. He has already pit, but he's down to 91% on mediums. Catching him, beating him is going to be really tough. As long as we're keeping pace with Schumacher, I definitely don't want to pit yet. We're at 35% on the tire wear. And is he peeling in? Yes, he is. While Latifi doing good on the tire wear, we're not pushing at all. We're keeping it very neutral to help extend the life of those mediums to the end of the race. But he's barely hanging on with anything else, so he's not having a good race, Latifi. Multiple cars have crashed. Multiple cars have crashed. Several cars.
Sounds like there's been
Bottas
contact.
out.
Let's have a
Let's
look.
see what happened.
Now, just watch the Mercedes
Nothing
here.
we can do about the pit stop. It's already happening. Oh, big lockup
There's the
from
collision.
Bottas.
It's caused absolute carnage.
Big lockup from Bottas as he goes inside on, what, Hamilton or was it Russell? Hamilton's well back, so I don't think it's Hamilton. Are we going to get a safety car? 2.8 on the pit stop. Latifi would definitely benefit from a pit stop if the field gets bunched up, putting on some softs to go to the end. We'll see what happens. Track rubber is now high. Bottas in the pits. Sonoda, and it is Hamilton, as they are pitting to fix their problems or possibly retire. We'll see what happens here. Extra pit stop at the very least. This could translate. Hamilton still in the pits. All three still in the pits. Albon reaches the front stretch. And no. They all back out on track. They are all back out on track. Hamilton, the next car ahead of us. We have a Ferrari in front. We have a Ferrari behind. And that Ferrari is going. We're going to get a blue flag. Let him by. And Schumacher's going to follow. Come on, Albon. You've never driven before? Jeez. The blue flag forces us to pull to the side. And he picks terrible timing to then not only allow the Ferrari to get by, but Schumacher just waltzes right on by as well. And then, before Albon then gets back up to speed, he's over a second behind Schumacher, so we're not even going to get DRS. Now we're going to have to fight to close that up. Terrible. Terrible driving from Albon right there. I also think Schumacher's going to drive away from us if we don't push. Tricky situation right now. I think Albon has to push to get back up there. Verstappen ahead of Sainz and then ahead of Leclerc. But from what I saw, Verstappen did not have the tire wear to make it to the end. He's at 57% already with almost 10 laps to complete. Feels like that's going to leave him really short-handed. I mean, Latifi's going to barely make it, and he's on mediums. And he's got better tire wear than Verstappen. So, assuming Verstappen does have to pit one more time late, then Sainz and Leclerc are going to be poised for a 1-2. Bottas, Hamilton with a third stop because of the crash. Everybody else finished there too, and Latifi trying to make that one-stop strategy work. Has not really worked out. Albon, meanwhile, is inching his way to within 1 second. We've got to keep pushing that little bit longer. We don't have the ERS to benefit, but we will deploy however we can, whenever we can. And we've got to keep digging in. So if we can get within a second, then the DRS can help close that up, and then we can back off. Then we can conserve and set ourselves up for a run right at the end of the race. But right now, it's back out to 1.5 seconds. We had it for a moment. I don't know if it's hot tires, if it's lack of ERS, or if it's Mick Schumacher himself deploying what he's got. I think that was our only chance. We got to 1.1 seconds back, and then Mick Schumacher opened up on us and pulled away. So we're going to have to now hope for a tire wear issue late on. We pit one lap after he did. Tire wear is identical. Oh, that's so good. Our chances of, getting that 15th place that we were hoping for also is worn down by the simple fact that we never got the DNF. We had two cars collide, and they definitely lost time. They had to take an extra pit stop, put on new wings, repair damage, something. But they're still both ahead of us. Now running 12th and 15th instead of 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th where they were before. Alright, so I took an advantage of the situation we had, and that was a Red Bull who was coming up on us. So I waited until just after they went past and then turned up the ERS, turned up the pace, and making one last push. Unfortunately, we had fallen to nearly 11 seconds back.
Okay.
But Magnussen with another spin. Could this be an opportunity for us as the gap closes up on him? Will he fall back further? He had already had an off a little while ago. He seems to be struggling maybe with tire wear here. We've already brought it back within 9 seconds now, but we have gone through that full deployment. Hanging on, but his lead is down to under a second, and he again is down to 22%. He is losing an absolute ton of time. He could still lose this race, but Sainz just getting within that 1 second. Sainz caught and passed Verstappen. This is Perez that we are riding with here, and Perez's pace is not very good, as we are very much keeping up with him. But yeah, Sainz caught and passed Verstappen. I told you that tire wear was going to be a real issue, and it looks like Sainz is going to likely claim the win here. Leclerc probably a little too far back to make one of his own. Alright, there is our first Grand Prix in the books. A little disappointing that we couldn't get Mick Schumacher, as our race was with him all race long. We had 2 solid opportunities to make a move. We made it, but then we could not pull away. The moment we could not push, he'd close up on us, and he had us. And then we had the one occasion where we were actually ahead, and we had a little bit of a gap. He just slowly closed down on us as we were at that point, conserving tires, and he caught up and passed us. And we had the very disappointing moment on that last one where we had one of the lead cars who we got the blue flags, pulled aside, and allowed not just him through, but casually allowed Mick Schumacher through as well, and gave him a 1.5 seconds. And we could not get back within that second. If we had that DRS on that last one, I think we had ourselves a battle. I think we were 10 seconds better off if we had retained that gap, if we'd kept it within a second. We didn't.
For Alex Albon today.
So 17th it is, and 20th for Latifi.
This was a mixed performance.
That's where the car's at.
Today. Some excellent decisions and then some strategies
all right, folks,
that will need a bit of work.
If you have not done so, please take a second. First 3 episodes is where this is most vital.
With the race wrapped up, the team
drop down below, click that like button,
click
that subscribe button, leave an algorithm comment of some sort, and know what you thought of this first race here in F1 Manager 22. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.